I am the exclusive suppressant for my venomous-tongued boss. He loathes omegas with a passion. As for me, a beta, I am his secretary by day and his bed partner by night. Under the constant influence of his high-level alpha pheromones, I underwent a secondary differentiation into an omega and ended up pregnant with his child. Knowing my boss's ruthless methods, I chose to flee. Yet, he climbed over my apartment balcony, grabbed the back of my neck in a vice grip, and demanded, "Spit it out. Where exactly do you think you're going? Pregnant with my child." Chapter 1. I thought it was just a common cold, but the doctor insisted on drawing blood. Then he told me I was pregnant. I stared at the lab report. My HCG levels had skyrocketed to 100,000. I was stunned. But I'm a beta, and a low-grade one with faulty reproductive functions at that. The doctor slapped the report onto the table. You've had a persistent fever for a week. Did it never occur to you that it might be secondary differentiation? Secondary differentiation? The doctor said I was about to become an omega. I smell high-level alpha pheromones on you. You have an alpha partner, don't you? Not exactly a partner, but we do have a standing sexual relationship. When a beta is frequently marked internally by a high-level alpha over a long period, there is a probability of secondary differentiation into an omega. The doctor paused. You hold it inside often, don't you? I flushed. James filled me up completely every single time. Now that I had become an omega, who was I supposed to argue with? Moreover, he utterly loathed omegas. It seemed our 3-year relationship was coming to an end. The doctor prescribed painkillers and suppressant patches, emphasizing that I must tell my alpha. Both a pregnant omega and the child need the father's pheromones for soothing. But how could I possibly say it? James and I were high school classmates. After university graduation, I joined his company. While attending a celebratory banquet as an intern, I stumbled upon him during his susceptibility period, being accosted by an omega in heat. I stepped in to help, but he lost all reason, pinned me down and kissed me. The next day, I woke up aching all over. Coldly, he promoted me from an intern directly to his personal secretary. By day, I fended off the omegas who constantly tried to get close to him. By night, I satisfied his physical needs. Besides my salary, he gave me a 100,000 bonus every month. I truly needed that money. A gambling father, a sick mother, a sister in school, and me, desperately trying to support this family. I gently placed my hand on my lower abdomen. Reason told me I should abort the child, hide my omega status, and maintain my relationship with James. But the doctor said this might be the only child I would ever be able to have. Just as I stepped out of the hospital, James's call came in. Lucas, where did you go? Why didn't you come to work? I took some time off. Before I could finish, he cut me off curtly, his tone freezing. I don't care where you are. Get to my office immediately. Right now. I stuffed the medicine into my bag and took a taxi straight to the company. Pushing open the office door, James grabbed me, pulled me in, and kissed me deeply. I reached behind my back to lock the door. I felt it hard to breathe. The office was thick with the scent of his alpha pheromones, dense as fog. For the first time, I smelled such strong pheromones. My legs instantly went weak. The back of my neck throbbed faintly, and suddenly began to heat up and swell. Besides the roomful of cold pine scent, there was a trace of lily-of-the-valley sweetness. It seemed to be emanating from the back of my neck. The doctor said I was about to differentiate into an omega. Flustered, I covered the back of my neck, terrified that if James smelled it, he would kick me out on the spot. He hated omegas very, very much, to the point of physiological revulsion. James pressed me down onto the office desk, turning his head to sniff the back of my neck. His scorching breath blew against it, causing the blood vessels at my gland to jump violently. I instinctively tried to dodge backward. Lucas, you smell so good today. Do I? James grabbed my wrist and lifted it, turning his head to sink his teeth into the back of my neck. The skin was instantly pierced, and he frantically injected pheromones inside. An unfamiliar pleasure spread from the nape of my neck. I couldn't control myself from arching my head back, letting out a sound that didn't belong to me. After it was over, James fell into a deep sleep. I opened the window for ventilation, cleaned up the soiled sheets, and opened the office door. The chief secretary was standing right at the door. She looked surprised to see me, then shut her mouth upon noticing the bite marks on my neck. My bitten lip hurt a little. I instructed, Mr. James is sleeping in the lounge. You can wake him up in an hour. I took the day off today, so I'm heading back now. The chief secretary quickly smiled and said, All right, Secretary Lucas. Have a safe trip. Dragging my exhausted body home, I stuffed the sheets into the washing machine and fell asleep immediately. When I woke up in a daze, my phone was ringing non-stop, and it was completely dark outside. I squinted to pick up the phone. It was a call from James. I glanced at the time. It was already past 10 in the evening. Who told me to be a miserable wage slave? I resignedly picked up the phone. Lucas, do you know how many times I've called you? Where did you go? I have a bit of a fever. I'm sorry, Mr. James. I didn't hear your call. My deepest apologies, I said hoarsely. A fever? Was it this afternoon that I... He suddenly paused, then stiffly changed the subject. I seem to smell the scent of an omega on you today. My heart instantly leaped into my throat. Theoretically, high-level alphas are delirious during their susceptibility period. I didn't expect James to actually remember. This made me run cold all over. I wasn't ready to face the rupture of our relationship yet. But then I heard him say coldly, Lucas, you are mine now. Don't go fooling around. Do you hear me? I don't like sharing. If I find out you have a relationship with other omegas or alphas, I won't let them off. I let out a sigh of relief and quickly explained, there's nothing of the sort. I might have picked up the scent at the hospital and didn't notice. Apologies, Mr. James. I will be more careful next time. James didn't speak. I could hear his breathing through the receiver. Mr. James, can you come to work tomorrow? How is your body? I feel much better after sleeping. I will definitely be there on time tomorrow. Right after I finished speaking, James hung up the phone. I threw the phone onto the bed. In that short amount of time, I had already broken out in a cold sweat. High-level alphas are not people a normal family like ours can afford to provoke. It's best to escape as soon as possible. My sister has already gotten into university and is now earning her own tuition through tutoring. My mother's condition is stable. The doctor said she can be discharged after another week of observation. Although my father's gambling debts can't be fully paid off, my mother has already filed for divorce. Her lawsuit states that since my father's debts were not used for family expenses, he will legally bear them alone, and I no longer have to rely on James's 100,000 monthly bonus to survive. Chapter 2. The next day, I sprayed on a generous amount of blocker, finally suppressing the pheromones on my body. As soon as I entered the office, James frowned. I thought the omega scent hadn't completely dissipated, so I raised my arm to sniff. I only smelled the faint bitterness of the blocker, nothing else. He stared at me. We were so intense yesterday that the bed frame broke. How come you don't smell like anything today? Lucas, did you wash it off on purpose? No, I replied. Then what's going on? Why don't you have my scent on you? His voice raised a few notches. Looking at James's furious face, I sighed inwardly. High-level alphas in their susceptibility period are truly unreasonable. Is having his scent on me really something to be so proud of? Isn't it better that I don't have your scent on me? I said calmly. This way, people won't ask too many questions. Haven't you always disliked others knowing about our relationship? It's not better, James said sullenly. What on earth goes through the mind of an alpha in their susceptibility period? I decided not to tangle with him over this issue and placed the documents on his desk. Mr. James, this is your itinerary for today. He flipped through it. You're accompanying me to the banquet tonight. One of my jobs was to fend off all the omegas trying to get close to him. I nodded. Understood. In the afternoon, James threw me a white suit. I looked at him in confusion. You are my beta today. Dress nicely, he said. My beta? My heart suddenly started racing. I closed the door to the lounge. The bed inside had already been fixed. Just as I took off my clothes, I felt a chill down my back. I turned around to see James leaning against the doorway, staring at me with the eyes of a wolf. He closed the door and walked toward me, wrapping an arm around my waist. The alpha pheromones on his body erupted instantly. My legs went weak, and I could only slump against his shoulder, the suit fabric brushing against me and making me tremble slightly. My beta, of course, needs to be covered in my scent from head to toe. He kissed me right after saying that. The air felt as if it were burning. He didn't let me go until the alarm I set went off. I lay on the bed, unable to recover for a long time. James was in a great mood. He helped me bathe and even dressed me in that white suit. He stared at me for a while, then suddenly said, I don't want you to come with me anymore. I froze. Was it because I didn't satisfy him just now? He pinched my chin and kissed my lips. Lucas, you look too good. I don't want anyone else to see you. My face flushed. I didn't dare look into those eyes full of desire. I was afraid I would sink too deep, afraid I wouldn't be able to bear leaving him. Many people attended the banquet. Liam was James's childhood friend and the actual controlling shareholder of a partner conglomerate. He publicly claimed to be a high-level S-class alpha, but in reality he was an enigma, something I accidentally learned from one of their conversations. Seeing James and me walking together, Liam picked up his wine glass and tapped it, making a crisp clinking sound. I tactfully made an excuse to go to the restroom, but I heard Liam ask from behind me, "When do you plan to make it official with Secretary Lucas? He's clearly a beta, yet he's completely covered in your scent. This way, no one else will get any ideas about him," James said. Liam laughed. "James, you finally admit that you like him." "Liam, what nonsense are you spouting? When did I ever say I liked him?" James's voice sounded somewhat exasperated. Liam scoffed. I quickened my pace, my heart clenching in pain. That's right. To James, I was nothing more than a humanoid suppressant. How could he possibly like me? I should have killed that delusion long ago. I leaned over the sink and splashed water on my face, looking at myself in the mirror. Being able to conceive James's child was already a massive blessing. I shouldn't be greedy for more. Just as I walked out of the restroom, I smelled a dense scent of cold pine. I hurried over and saw James surrounded by a group of Omegas. 2 of them had already collapsed beside him, their faces flushed, desperately pressing themselves against him while releasing Omega pheromones. The air also carried the scent of an aphrodisiac. James was already in his susceptibility period. Provoked by these scents, his pheromones erupted uncontrollably. To avoid a chaotic scene, I held my breath, stepped forward to support James, and led the delirious man away from the crowd. I then told the security to handle the situation over there. After security left, James pinned me against the wall and kissed me, rubbing his pheromones all over me haphazardly. With my hands behind my back, I casually swiped open a nearby hotel room. After locking the door, James tore his own clothes apart. Blinking, he looked at me pitifully. "Lucas, they set me up. I feel so uncomfortable." His pheromones made my legs weak. The gland at the back of my neck felt swollen, itchy, red, and inflamed. A faint scent of lily of the valley also drifted through the air. He leaned close to me, his damp, hot breath blowing against the back of my neck. With red eyes, he sank his teeth into my gland. Then he trailed kisses all the way down my neck, gripping my waist with a force so strong it felt like he wanted to knead me into his body. Afraid of falling and hurting the child in my belly, I clung to him tightly. It wasn't until James finished venting that I, with weak legs, opened the window for ventilation, and then face-planted onto the bed, falling into a deep sleep. When I woke up again, it was broad daylight. James was pacing irritably barefoot over his torn clothes, holding his phone and roaring, "Investigate! Investigate this! I want to see who had the guts to set me up." I propped myself up to sit. I already had the answer in my heart, James's stepmother. She had always wanted James to follow his father's arrangements and marry an Omega of equal social standing. I didn't know the reason behind James's loathing for Omegas, but I knew he had been constantly rebelling against his father. Disgusting! These damn Omegas! James cursed. The back of my neck still hurt, and the scent of lily of the valley on my body hadn't dissipated. Were Omegas really that unbearable in his eyes? But I am an Omega now, too. James suddenly glared over viciously. "Lucas, what is that smell on you?" I didn't dare speak. Pale-faced, I hid my red and swollen nape. "It must have rubbed off on you from those Omegas in heat yesterday. It stinks to high heaven. Hurry up and go take a shower." I slowly got out of bed, my exposed skin covered in marks. Seeing the hickey on my wrist, I recalled how he had kissed almost every inch of my body last night. I gathered my courage and asked softly, "Are Omegas really that detestable? What if I were an Omega?" I regretted it the moment I asked. What gave me the right to think I was special to him? I hoped he hadn't heard me, but a high-level alpha's hearing is extremely sharp. He heard it. He stared at me with wolf-like eyes, and the temperature in the room seemed to drop several degrees. "Lucas, you are a beta, not an Omega. Omegas are the most disgusting creatures. You will never become an Omega." I closed my eyes. Unfortunately, I have already been affected by your high-level pheromones and undergone a secondary differentiation into an Omega. Right now, I am a true Omega. Chapter 3. As expected, James's stepmother found me. The shadow I saw at the banquet was indeed him, and he was the one who orchestrated the crazed Omegas. We met at a high-end cafe. He immediately slid a $5 million check across the table to buy my departure from James. Before I could speak, He pushed over a photo of me buying Omega suppressants. I bought them for my mom. She's an Omega. I lied. I didn't know that, the calculating middle-aged Omega replied. But if James finds out, he'll investigate you thoroughly. You won't walk away unscathed, Secretary Lucas paled. If James investigated, he'd discover my secondary differentiation and pregnancy. Fortunately, this man only knew I was an Omega, not that I was pregnant. I took the check. That afternoon, I skipped work, deposited the money, and resigned. I blocked James on every platform, forfeited my last paycheck, and left immediately, taking the high-speed rail back to my hometown with my newly discharged mother. On the day Mom was discharged, my father knelt, slapping his own face and begging for forgiveness. My sister stood at the door with a meat cleaver, ready to strike if he approached. He begged me, "Lucas, help me. We're family. Remember how good I used to be to you." I clenched my fists and gave him one word: get lost. That night, I tossed and turned. My father used to be good, but my later memories were filled with blood. He beat me when he lost his gambles, dragged my sick mother out of the hospital, stole her surgery money, and even tried to sell my alpha sister. Once, when I fought back and bit him, he beat me with a stick, shouting, "You useless beta, you can't even be sold. If only you were an Omega." He knocked me out and went gambling. Waking up, I ran frantically toward the police station and crashed right into James, staining his white shirt with my blood. We had been desk mates for a month, though we rarely spoke. Knowing his powerful background, I begged him to save my sister from traffickers like a drowning man clutching a straw. I don't remember much after that. James took me to the hospital, and when I woke up, my sister was safe at my bedside. From then on, I became James's follower. The scraps he gave were enough for my family to survive. I buried that spoiled gratitude deep in my heart. Touching my belly, I thought, "James, consider this child my reward for staying with you all these years." My parents' divorce case was tough. I contacted an old classmate who was a lawyer, someone I originally met through James, and took the train back to the city to meet him. But standing next to him was a familiar figure, James. I wanted to run, but my mother's life had been ruined by that scum, and James could track me anyway. Feigning composure, I handed over the evidence of domestic violence and gambling. My terms were simple: divorce and the gambling debt stay with my father. After the meeting, I dragged myself to a hotel. Just as I opened the door, someone grabbed my waist and shoved me inside. Pinned against the door in the dark, I heard him grit his teeth. "Lucas, you abandoned me for a mere $5 million?" I felt relieved. He hadn't investigated me or found out about the pregnancy. James was proud and childish. My sudden departure had just bruised his ego. I smiled. "Mr. James, you misunderstand. There's no abandonment between us. It was a transaction. I was your bed partner, and you paid me $100,000 a month." Dead silence followed. His breathing grew heavy. I knew my words stung his pride. Like an arrogant lion, he wouldn't lower his head again after this. Sure enough, James let go. "Lucas, don't regret this," he spat, slamming the door behind him. He couldn't believe his obedient shadow would leave for $5 million, so he came demanding an explanation. But I refused to give him the answer he wanted. This way, our paths would truly be severed. I numbly inserted the keycard, undressed, and curled up in bed, my hands protecting my belly. James wouldn't investigate me anymore, leaving him keeping the child. This was the best outcome. Chapter 4. After I took the high-speed rail home, my parents' divorce lawsuit dragged on for 6 months. It wasn't until right before the Lunar New Year that a trial date was finally set. On New Year's Eve, I sat at the dinner table wrapped in a thick, gray wool coat to hide my visibly pregnant belly. My sister ran in waving a sparkler. "Brother, there's a luxury car downstairs. Is it your boss?" "James? Impossible." I shook my head. "He would never come here." My sister pulled me out to the balcony to watch the fireworks. Looking down, my chest tightened. James was standing right next to a luxury car, his gaze locked intensely on me. I pulled my coat tighter as I watched him grab bags of gifts from the trunk and head upstairs. This was more unbelievable than a comet hitting the earth. By the time I turned around to hide in my room, my mom had already opened the front door. James stood there, smiling harmlessly. "Auntie, I'm Lucas's colleague. I came to wish you a happy new year." "I remember you. You're Lucas's high school classmate, James. Come in, come in." As my mom turned around, James sat down. I leaned in and hissed, "What are you doing here? Hurry up and leave." He ignored me, casually picking up his chopsticks to eat. My mom was thrilled and poured him a full glass of wine. It's snowing heavily outside. Just stay here tonight, we have a spare guest room. No need, Mom, he's leaving soon. I interjected quickly. My mom shot me a disapproving look. James is our family's savior. Kicking our benefactor out into the snow on New Year's Eve will bring bad karma. I shut my mouth. Families like ours couldn't afford bad karma. That night, I thought his presence would keep me awake. Why was he here? After all these years, did I actually mean something to him? Before I could figure it out, the late-stage pregnancy fatigue dragged me under. Just as I was drifting off, my bedroom door opened. Before I could react, he climbed into my bed and wrapped an arm around my waist. The next second, he abruptly sat up and snapped on the bedside lamp. I squinted against the sudden glare. James yanked the blanket back, staring at me in absolute shock. Lucas, you're pregnant? Then he caught the scent of unfamiliar alpha pheromones on me. It was a synthetic soothing agent prescribed by the hospital for pregnant omegas without a partner. His face drained of color, turning a sickly pale, and his eyes grew bloodshot. Whose is it? Is it the alpha whose scent is all over you? Yes, I said flatly. James's eyes reddened further, looking like he was 1 second away from crying. He slammed his fist furiously into the mattress, then practically stumbled out of my room in defeat. I lay there, drained, listening to the heavy slam of the front door. The air still carried the lingering scent of his cold pine pheromones. My mom rubbed her eyes and walked over. What happened? Did James leave? Yeah, I said, pulling the covers over my head. Family emergency. In this heavy snow? I hope the roads are safe, she fretted. He's a high-level alpha, he'll be fine. Go back to sleep, Mom. I'm exhausted. I stared blankly at the ceiling, pulling the blanket tight against my chest to breathe in his scent. High school had been dark and bitter. Working multiple jobs to pay for my mom's treatments and my sister's tuition, James was my only light. Once, when I was mopping the basketball court, he tossed me $10,000 just to buy him and his friends water. After that, I became his personal cook and errand boy. I survived on those small drops of his kindness, even though I knew my feelings for him were just a foolish illusion. I forced my eyes closed and finally fell asleep, but my body began to burn up. When my sister woke me, I was disoriented. That luxury car is still downstairs. Your boss never left. I frowned. Did he sit in the freezing car all night? My neck ached, my head spun, and my face felt completely flushed. Wrapping my thick coat tightly around myself, I went downstairs into the snow and knocked on his window. James stepped out, frowning deeply. He instantly stripped off his own coat and draped it over my shoulders. Why did you come out? You're barely wearing anything. My heart warmed. Why didn't you leave? James was silent for a moment before snapping defensively. I stayed because I want to see which bastard alpha knocked you up and refuses to take responsibility, leaving you all alone here on New Year's. A rush of warmth flooded my entire body. The gland at the back of my neck began to burn. He really cared about me. You. Suddenly, my vision went completely black. Lucas. Before I lost consciousness, the last thing I saw was James's desperately panicked face. Chapter 5. When I woke up, I heard my attending doctor scolding someone. So you're his alpha? Do you have any idea that a pregnant man needs pheromone soothing? You've been MIA this whole time. What's more important, your work or your partner and child? I quickly tried to explain. He's not. The doctor thought I was just throwing a tantrum. He turned to James. Soothe your partner properly. He's suffered a lot during this pregnancy. After the doctor left, James's eyes were red. Lucas, is this how he treats you? Who exactly is he? Did you leave me because of him? It has nothing to do with you, James. Just leave, I said coldly. James went silent, looking like a powder keg ready to explode at any second. A significant amount of cold pine pheromones leaked out. The lack of alpha pheromones to soothe me during my pregnancy had left me in constant discomfort, and my body desperately craved his scent. But I knew that once you taste sweetness, it's incredibly hard to go back to a bitter life. I said, James, we have nothing to do with each other anymore. Please get out. James left. I breathed a sigh of relief, completely unaware that my mother had stopped him outside the door. Auntie knows you're a good boy. Even if you and Lucas had a fight, you can't just abandon him. You have no idea how hard this pregnancy has been for him. James's eyes widened in shock. He spun around and pushed the ward door open. He sat by my bed. Lucas, if your alpha doesn't want you, I can be the child's father. Do you like me? I asked, James didn't answer, yet my heart skipped a beat. Then I forced a smile. James, I'm not a beta. I'm an omega. The kind of omega you loathe the most. James physically gagged. I believed he would never come back after this. After the new year, the divorce trial began. My mother was absolutely determined to divorce that scumbag. Everything was moving in a positive direction. Late one night, because my due date was fast approaching, I was packing my hospital bag. Suddenly, there was a noise from the balcony window. In the dark, someone agilely vaulted inside. I gripped the cup on my nightstand tightly, only relaxing when I saw clearly who it was. James walked over, his eyes red. I frowned. What are you doing here? You are carrying my child, Lucas. Do I not even have the right to know? My heart sank. Instinctively, I tried to get up and run. He clamped a hand down on the back of my neck. Where do you think you're going with that pregnant belly? His warm palm rubbed against my gland, and my legs instantly gave out. The air was completely saturated with the scent of high-level alpha pheromones. They were soothing pheromones. He said, Lucas, don't be afraid. I'm not here to settle scores with you. Just as I was about to speak, the balcony was suddenly illuminated by a high-beam flashlight. With a crash, a rock smashed through the glass. Lucas, get the F***CK down here. James pulled me behind him. If you don't come down right now, I'll stab your mother to death. I shoved James aside and rushed to the balcony, only to see my scumbag father holding my mother hostage, backed by a crowd of people. Every one of them looked familiar. They were his debt collectors. Don't do anything stupid. I turned to run downstairs but was grabbed by the wrist by James. I'll go. You stay here. No. I have to go. Lucas, don't be afraid. I am a high-level alpha. They are no match for me. After saying that, James vaulted straight off the balcony. I rushed to look down. The streetlights were dim, and I couldn't see what was happening clearly at all. My mother took the opportunity to break free from the men. The debt collectors quickly scattered. James was emitting oppressive cold pine pheromones, and my father was lying on the ground, wailing in pain. I breathed a sigh of relief, but suddenly felt a rush of heat between my legs. Water began streaming down. Hearing the commotion, my sister ran over. Seeing the puddle at my feet, her eyes widened. Brother, your water broke. We need to get to the hospital. She grabbed my hospital bag and helped me hurry downstairs. Though covered in dirt, my mother instantly calmed down when she saw my soaked pants. Lucas, don't be scared. It's okay that your water broke. We're driving to the hospital right now. Once downstairs, James looked at me in shock. He helped me into the back seat of the car and released soothing alpha pheromones the entire way. I was wheeled directly into the delivery room. Because it was a premature labor compounded by shock, James was allowed to stay to release his soothing pheromones. The delivery was incredibly difficult. I was sweating profusely from the pain, only managing to stay conscious thanks to his pheromones. It wasn't until I heard the baby's loud cries that tears finally slid down my face. James carried the baby and wheeled me out. After handing the baby and me over to my mother, he collapsed onto the floor with a loud thud. The moment his dark coat hit the ground, a smear of red blood painted the white hospital tiles. I stared at him in sheer shock. Someone passed out over here, a nurse shouted. A group of medical staff swarmed over. The patient has a stab wound in the back. Quick, prepare for emergency resuscitation. The baby wailed in my arms. I looked at James on the floor. Was he insane? He was stabbed and still released that much soothing pheromone. Did he have a death wish? I waited outside the operating room in a wheelchair. The baby was a few days premature but very healthy, and my sister had taken him for checkups. My mother pushed my wheelchair, sighing behind me. Lucas, I don't know what happened between the two of you, but from what I can see, James is a good man. Just give him a chance. Okay? I stared at the glowing, in surgery sign and nodded. If he survives, I will give him a chance, and give myself a chance too. James survived. He finally told me the reason he hated omegas. His mother was a normal alpha who was deceived by his father, a paranoid and extremely possessive man. Just because his mother exchanged a few extra words with an omega, his father cruelly gouged out her gland. Yet in the end, it was his father who crossed the line and cheated with another omega. That omega had a 100% compatibility match with his father. Unable to bear the devastating blow, his mother chose to jump off a building. From then on, James developed a physiological revulsion the moment he saw an omega. He loathed the feeling of being controlled by pheromones. He held my hand and said, I liked you even when you were still a beta. I just hadn't recognized my own feelings. I'm the one who turned you into an Omega. Let me take responsibility and take care of you for the rest of your life. Okay? James? He is arrogant, sharp-tongued, and sometimes incredibly childish. But it's undeniable that he is the light that illuminated my life. Embracing this light is the most natural thing in the world for me. James's side story. Liam said that if I didn't give Lucas a proper title soon, he would leave. I didn't believe it. Lucas had followed me for so many years. Anyone else might leave, but never him. I never expected him to actually be bought off by my stepmother for $5 million. By the time I realized what happened, he had completely vanished, blocking me on every single contact method. I was so furious I got dead drunk at the bar. Liam laughed at me, calling me an absolute fool. Remembering how obedient Lucas used to be to me, how dare he treat me like this? I couldn't swallow this anger. Hearing he was looking for a lawyer to prepare for a divorce case, I contacted that classmate of ours. I was going to see him in person alongside the classmate. He had better give me an explanation. As long as he explained, I could forgive him. I'd let him continue being my secretary, and everything would go back to how it was. But instead, he said everything between us was just a transaction. Then what were the past 10 years? I slammed the door and stormed out in a rage. That Lucas simply had no heart. I numbed myself with work, but the more I did, the more I missed him. Missed everything about him. The tea he brewed suited my taste. I loved the food he cooked. The bed he made was comfortable to sleep in. I even liked the PowerPoints he made. Liam said I had fallen in love with him. I admitted it. But why hadn't Lucas turned back? Did he really not regret it? Did he truly not want me anymore? I was about to explode from anger, but I am a man who never bows his head. I just endured it, relying on suppressants to survive one susceptibility period after another. But my dreams were entirely filled with his silhouette. My relationship with my family is bad. During the new year, I was the only one in that massive villa. I thought of Lucas again. If he were here, he would definitely cook a whole table full of dishes. Ever since high school, the first New Year's greeting every single year was sent by him right on the dot. Driven by some inexplicable impulse, I bought a car full of gifts, and on New Year's Eve, drove hundreds of kilometers to Lucas's hometown. The moment I saw him, I wanted nothing more than to knead him into my body. But he didn't look like he welcomed me. I was a bit displeased. Late at night, I climbed into his bed. When I wrapped my arm around his waist, I discovered he was pregnant. In that moment, my ears were ringing. He was actually pregnant with another alpha's child. I was so angry I was about to explode. Which alpha dared to treat Lucas like this? I sat in my car, frantically beating the steering wheel, my heart aching so much I couldn't catch my breath. I really wanted to kill the alpha who stole Lucas away. I drowned in jealousy all night. The more I thought about it, the more indignant I felt. How dare that irresponsible scumbag alpha treat him this way? Lucas even fainted. The attending doctor chewed me out, and I truly wished I was the child's father. If that were the case, he could scold me however he wanted. But Lucas said I wasn't. I walked out of the hospital, thoroughly dejected. Lucas's mother actually thought I was the baby's father too. It seemed that Alpha was not only irresponsible but hadn't even shown his face. Since that was the case, then I would be the baby's father. But Lucas told me he was an Omega. I didn't want to gag, but I couldn't control my physiological reaction. I didn't know since when he had started lying to me. My emotions were a tangled mess. I returned home like a wandering ghost, right as I bumped into Liam. He said, "James, are you an idiot? If you want to know the truth, can't you just investigate? I heard that a high-level alpha can turn a beta into an Omega." I investigated the hospital Lucas visited. I found out that he was already pregnant when he was still by my side, and had even undergone a secondary differentiation into an Omega. And that Lily of the Valley pheromone scent. I hadn't noticed a thing. No wonder he left. I only knew how to enjoy having him by my side, but I never truly cared about him. I was the alpha who bullied Lucas. I was filled with endless remorse, unable to imagine how he, a pregnant Omega without an alpha's soothing pheromones, had managed to survive. How helpless and in pain he must have been. I wished I could fly to his side immediately, and I did exactly that. I rushed downstairs to his house at top speed and vaulted through his window. This time, I am going to hold on to my Omega. I am going to treat him well. If you enjoyed this story, remember to subscribe to my channel. Thank you so much.